Recording in progress.
And then just let me admit everybody.
Are we all set, Todd? Yes?
Yes, go right ahead, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Public Improvement Commission hearings of the City of Boston. Today is November 4th of 2021. First order of business. Mr. Limey, could you be ever so kind and do a roll call for me, please?
Certainly. Representative from the Public Works Department, please state your name and signify that you're here.
R.R. Jayasinghe, Public Works.
Thank you. Property Management.
Callahan.
Thank you. Transportation Department.
Amy Gordon.
Thank you. Inspectional Services.
Brian Ronan here.
Thank you, sir. Not sure if we have anybody from Water and Sewer.
Denise Devlin.
Oh, fantastic. And my understanding is that the Disabilities Commission will not be attending today.
Thank you, Todd. Looks like we have a quorum. First order of business, approval of the hearing minutes. At the request of the Public Improvement Commission staff, the acceptance of minutes of the PIC hearings held on October 21st, 2021. I'd like to hear a motion towards that effect.
I'll make a motion to accept the hearing minutes of October 21st, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Aye.
Moving to the utility board hearings, continued segment of our agenda. Item number 1 on a joint petition by Verizon New England Inc. and Eversource Energy for a pole installation within Mount Vernon Street, a public way, Dorchester, to install one new utility pole to be located on its southerly side across from Cottrell Street. The first public hearing was held on September 2nd, which was continued through September 23rd, further continued through October 7th, and continued through October 21st. Good morning. Do we have a representative from both Verizon and or the petitioners?
Yes, this is Gene Butterfield, engineering with Verizon.
Good morning, Gene. Nice to have you here today.
Thank you. You too.
And also Larry Enright with Verizon.
Thank you, Larry, for joining us today. So if either one of you or your consultant can share your screen, and since this is the public hearing, and hopefully we can come to a decision today, one of your team members need to present the merits of the petition to the commission and today's audience. Gentlemen?
Yes, my audio is I tell you, it's terrible on this cell phone, but I guess it was tough to hear. So I mean,
do you have your consultant who was here at the previous times?
Larry, are you aware of if prior to today, who else was attending this meeting for us?
Perfect. Someone is sharing this.
No, I don't know who that. I don't think anybody from Verizon's been on for this. If anybody, it was Pike, but
Yes, this is Oscar
I've
with
never
Pike
dealt with him
Telecom.
before.
I'm currently sharing the screen on the pole that would like to be relocated or replaced.
Okay.
Yes, this petition's not for a relocation. This is for a placement of a brand new stub pole adjacent to the existing pole that's there today in support of that pole.
Thank you. I believe Commissioner Brian Ronan has had multiple conversations with your team. The commission would look to Commissioner Ronan, Brian, for your leadership and your guidance on this matter.
Yes, to the chair. I met Mr. Butterfield yesterday. It was about my third trip out there, but the first time, and to my recollection, that someone from Verizon had met me. but it was my third visit, in which I made a recommendation as alluding to our last hearing that we had been asking Pike to have a representative from Verizon present at this hearing for this particular location, which with the board commission's permission, I'd recommend that if Verizon is a stakeholder, that they should appear for any future hearings to speed things up a little.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a recommendation which you would like to share with the commission per the petition that has been submitted to us by both Verizon and Eversource?
To the chair, yes. I'm going to recommend that we allow the stub poll to be put in place on the condition that they replace the damaged pole at the same time as the current installation, and that way there's no lag time in between. And then for continuity purposes, traffic, pedestrian traffic, et cetera, it should be done all at once.
Thank you, Brian. Members from Verizon, are you agreeable to the assessment and the conditions articulated by Commissioner Ronan?
Yes, I am in 100% agreement. I met with Brian on site, and I totally understand his concern, and I totally agree. And that particular added item of replacing existing pole will be added to the job once it's approved.
Thank you, truly appreciate it. That all being said, are there any further concerns or comments by fellow commission members before Commissioner Ronan can make a motion?
To the chair, Brian Ronan. To Verizon, and I did get a couple of messages out to Ms. Levesque this morning, which I intend to, Karen Levesque is typically the Verizon liaison, government liaison. I'm not 100% sure of her title, but that is traditionally who I believe the commission has dealt with in the past. The recommendation for Verizon would be to attend. If you're a stakeholder, you really kind of need to have a representative here with us for, if nothing else, for to eliminate any miscommunications. Secondly, I would also ask Verizon that as soon as you can conceptualize this, like pretty much when you're about to file an application with the commission, I'd recommend that you approach the commission as soon as possible, or as early as possible, just to be able to get in front of these to have a more efficient coping mechanism in place so that we can get through these hearings and much quicker. I mean, we had to reschedule this several times.
Thank you, Brian.
And I agree.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to add, I totally agree with that. And if Brian, if you could just send off a note to Karen with that in writing. Karen's a new person with the company, so I think the understanding will be met from her and her manager so that this miscommunication doesn't happen going forward.
Mr. Butterfield, I intend to do that. I would like to have a discussion with her as well.
Sure, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
To the fine people from Verizon and Eversource that is listening on this, it has been the practice of this commission, the Public Improvement Commission, over a period of 30 years or more, that actual persons that are representing the petition or their specific delegated person be at these hearings and just observing this petition or this issue over the last few weeks. Something may have been lost in the translation between the Verizon's representative that was here and your folks. So I echo Commissioner Ronan's comments, where it is imperative that these conversations start early and appropriate members from Verizon and or Eversource and or those who petition the Public Improvement Commission actually be present to testify. Okay, so that being said, I'd like to, first of all, are there any further comments by fellow commission members? Hearing none, I'd like to hear a motion regarding continued utility pole hearing number 1
I'll make a motion to approve a joint petition by Verizon New England and Eversource Energy for a pole installation on Mount Vernon Street as read into the record by the chair.
second,
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed or abstain? Hearing none, motion passes. Utility pole continued, item number 2, on a joint petition by Verizon New England Inc. and Eversource Energy for a pole installation and relocation within Freeport Street, the public way, Dorchester, to install 1 new utility pole and relocate 2 existing utility poles to be located on its easterly side, generally northeast of William T. Morrissey Boulevard. This was brought under the public hearing, utility pole hearing, under new business on October 21st of this year. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Everett Dawkins from Verizon.
Good morning, Everett. I'm sorry. Good morning, Mr. Dawkins.
Good morning.
Please continue.
So my understanding is there's a new building going up where the old restaurant was there at 780 Morrissey Boulevard. In order to build that building, we need to bring new facilities into that building. The new pole that was suggested is to provide a riser pole to get to our aerial facilities in the area. The 2 relocated poles is based on the property's taking of the roadway and moving the sidewalk and eliminating the existing driveway into the restaurant.
Thank you, Mr. Dawkins.
Yeah.
Do you have a plan sheet that details the more specifics of what you're saying? We truly appreciate the Google.
I believe that was provided.
There you are. Perfect.
Yes. There it is. Yeah. So if you
Excellent.
scroll down a little bit, you'll see the new pole locations. So if we're looking at the left-hand page where the drain is denoted, you can see the new driveway goes in there, and we're proposing to place a new pole to the left of the new driveway. And I believe there's a tree there now, and your drain that you would ask to be posted on this plan has been posted there. So that is where the property is proposing that the new telecommunications and electric service go into the building.
Thank you, Mr. Dawkins.
Yeah.
Comments or concerns by fellow commission members?
Have you had a tree hearing to remove the tree?
I'm sorry?
Have you had a tree hearing to remove that remove existing tree?
I believe the property has spoken to the tree folks about the tree, and I think they want that tree to stay. So the plan, as it shows now, we're going to be about 6 feet away from that existing tree. Try and stay away from that root ball.
Any further comments or concerns by fellow commission members?
Oh, good morning, Mr. Dawkins. This is Denise Devlin from Boston Water and Sewer. Thank you
Good
for
morning.
putting the drain information on the plan. So then I just had a quick question. So then it looks like from the plan you have, it's going to be somewhat like on top of the drain. We'd actually like you to dig a test pit and just make sure, just to confirm that you're not going to be in the way of the drain.
Yeah, we can do that, absolutely. I believe your drain is in the gutter line, and we'd be up on the sidewalk, but we'll absolutely dig that test pit.
Okay, great, thank you. And then I can pass along the information after the meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Denise, the concerns that you raised, which are absolutely, paramount to the needs of the commission. The actual contractor that does the work, how can we ensure that this information for the need for the test pits to be dug up and that information to be conveyed to you. How do you see the best way to codify that information through the permitting process? Because sometimes things get lost in the translation, and then we have awkward moments.
Okay, so what would you like me to do with that para?
Amy, I mean, any guidance, what's the best way to get that stuff coded so that when Verizon releases this work to a subcontractor, I know we've had issues in the past where something is not necessarily being translated. And I believe it is Public Works that ends up issuing the work order, right? I mean, not work order. The
Permit, right, yeah. So I mean, it would need to be flagged in permitting.
Got it.
We will make sure that Ms. Devlin has received what she needs before we release the PIC vote form, which would authorize the project to pull permits from Public Works.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you. Okay, any further comments by fellow commission members? Hearing none, are there any comments by PIC staff and or members of today's audience?
Yes, Jeff Lewis would like to speak. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you. Actually, I was just going to respond about the tree hearing, but Mr. Dawkins did a very able and accurate job on that. So, but that seemed to be in our wheelhouse, not Verizon's. But I wanted to respond to that. So, but thank you for calling on me.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. If you could be ever so kind to identify yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Jeff Lewis with Michael's Development. We're the proponent of the project, which the commission will recall went through the process May of June of this year as well.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Thank you for identifying yourself in the mannerism which is needed on these online format meetings. Thank you. Any further comments, Mr. Liming?
No, that appears to be it.
At this point, I'd like to hear a motion regarding item number 2 in our poll hearing segment of our agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve a joint petition by Verizon New England and Eversource Energy for a pole installation and relocation within Freeport Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed or abstain? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, folks. Now moving on to the public hearing segment of our agenda, continued segment of our agenda. Item number 1, on a joint petition by the Preservation of Affordable Housing LLC and the Boston Housing Authority for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Roxbury, consisting of curb realignment, roadway and sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, specialty pavements, street lighting infrastructure, traffic signal infrastructure, storm drain infrastructure, street trees, planters, landscaping, irrigation infrastructure, street furniture, bike racks, private utility infrastructure, driveway curb cuts, and raised crosswalks. Fremont Street on its southeasterly side at addresses numbers 1158 through 1176 between Whittier Street and Ruggles Street. Tenner Lane between Whittier Street and Ruggles Street. Whittier Street on its northeasterly side between Fremont Street and Tenner Lane. Ruggles Street on its southwesterly side between Fremont Street and Tenner Lane. This was brought under new business on October 7th of this year. The first public hearing was on October 21st. As shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan, Ruggles Street, Whittier Street, Tenner Lane, and Fremont Street Public Way, Roxbury, 4 sheets, dated October 8, 2021. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for your time this morning. First off, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, so let me introduce the project team. Myself, Jonathan Hoodland with Niche Engineering, John Springfield with POA, Jason Gear with TAT, Iris Lynn with Halverson, Guy Busa with HSH, and Allison Burton with BHA Council. So I'll start off first with the Tremont Street crossing. This is what's changed from the previous hearing. We have facilitated a pedestrian refuge as requested by the board. To facilitate this refuge, we've moved this pedestrian ramp roughly 10 feet to the east. We have a perpendicular path to the median itself. we've created a curb cut or cut within the median itself with tactile panels. That's going to be a minimum of 5 feet wide. Right now, this is depicted as 8 feet wide. We're going to try to maximize this area to be 8 feet, but right now we're just calling out minimum of 5 feet. We then continue along Tremont Street with a slightly angled pedestrian crossing, which will have a new pedestrian ramp on the north side of Tremont Street. The reason this is angled is because there's infrastructure within the north side of Tremont Street, which we're avoiding and not wanting to relocate. So at this time, I'll answer questions from this change.
Thank you, Jonathan. Commission members, do you feel whether there's a need for further elaboration as to the purpose of this project, or I'm happy if we can tie the two public hearings for purposes of continuity?
No, I mean, I think we're all pretty well versed in this particular project.
Based on Jonathan's amended comments at this hearing, are there any further concerns or comments by fellow commission members? Hearing none, further comments or concerns by PIC staff and or members of today's audience?
No, I see none. Is there value in quickly running through the rest of the improvements on the other streets?
My bad, sorry. Yes. Jonathan?
Happy to. So I'll start with Tremont Street, moving to Ruggles Street, then Tenor Lane, then Whittier Street at the end, stopping at each street, answering questions as applicable. So for Tremont Street, we are saving 4 trees. This has gone through the tree hearing process. We are going to remove 2 trees. There's 1 stump located here, which will be removed as well. Along Tremont Street, there's going to be free standing planters with pedestrian seating, along with a new MBTA bus shelter located here. And this has been coordinated with the MBTA already. We're having new street lighting. We're going to remove and place these poles back on Tremont Street. There's new bike racks here, which are parallel with the curb as requested by the board. Along Ruggles Street, this has been coordinated with the Ruggles Street Improvement Project. All the line work along this street is from this project, so we've been coordinating very closely with the city on this item. For these 2 streets, is there any questions associated from the board?
Any questions regarding Jonathan's presentation on those? Hearing none, Jonathan, continue.
All right, along Tenor Lane. So we have a new raised crosswalk. This has actually been designed by the city of Boston. We've incorporated this into our project. Along Tenor Lane, we have new street trees, and this is more or less a mirror image of Choice Way, which has been currently constructed to the south. We have facilitated a 10.5-foot sidewalk along the back of the street trees itself. It's 5.5 feet for pedestrian passage. For the infrastructure itself within Tenor Lane, we have new BWSC infrastructure. This has been reviewed and approved by the commission. Along with the street trees, we have new irrigation, which will feed the street trees. Along with the raised crosswalk to the east, we have another raised crosswalk, which is a mirror image of the Choice Way raised crosswalk as well. We have another pedestrian crosswalk in this area as well. Any questions pertaining Tenor Lane?
Continue, Jonathan.
Whittier Street, we have a new driveway entrance for the loading dock and for the parking lot itself for the building. The sidewalk itself is 7.5 feet wide roughly. So we have pedestrian access behind the streetlight in this area. We have a dumpster loading area. This is just going to be striped, and that's going to facilitate the dumpsters that are going to be pulling out of this this driveway entrance. Any questions pertaining Whittier Street?
Continue.
That is actually, let me just quickly point out this has been, this pedestrian crosswalk has now been aligned. This is a change from the previous plan set, and this was requested from disabilities. We have been able to facilitate a inline pedestrian crosswalk. And that is, I think, all the points that I'd like to make at this point.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm going to assume that there's someone at today's hearing from the petitioner, specifically the preservation of affordable housing. Is that correct? Or
yes, John Springfield is the representative from POA.
Good morning, John. Can you hear me?
Hi, good morning. Yes.
John, if you could be ever so kind to put things in context, basically what I would like you to say, because these are public hearings that are online recorded format, all these improvements are in support of the nature of your project, which is, and how would you continue that thought pattern?
Sure. I'm happy to give a brief overview. I know that we've, given overviews before, but I'm happy to do it quickly, just, out of respect for folks' time. So my name is John Springfield, project manager at Preservation of Affordable Housing, and all of the infrastructure presented today is in support of phase 3 of the Whittier Street housing redevelopment in partnership with the Boston Housing Authority. And so it'll replace all of the existing public housing, 200 units, with a new mixed income community. This phase 3 is a 12-story building with 172 units. It's mixed income, so it allows all the households currently living at Whittier to return to a newly constructed unit, and it also creates new affordable housing and new market rate housing. And it's supported by the City of Boston and a HUD Choice Neighborhoods grant. And we're excited to break ground next year, hopefully with the PIC approval.
Mr. Springfield, that was perfectly spot on. Just a couple of points for my edification purposes. This is, as you mentioned, phase 3. The total complex itself, you are championing this thing as an affordable housing initiative. Would you have to know what percentage of the units are actually classified as affordable housing?
Yes. So in this phase, it's roughly 2/3 of the building is affordable housing, and in the first 2, the vast majority is affordable housing. I want to say 90 to 95%, and it's at different income ranges, and so it's kind of hard to give a blanket answer because some of it is restricted at different area median incomes. But I would say that in total, in this phase, it's 2/3 affordable.
Thank you, John. At this point, are there any questions for the petitioner by members of the commission? Hearing none. Any comments? Sorry. Denise, are you all okay? I thought, okay.
Oh, yes, I'm all set, Howard. Thank you.
Sorry, Denise.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Any comments by PIC staff and or members of today's audience?
No, I believe we're all set. Oh, Allison?
Oh, Allison, I think is.
Yes, hi, good morning. Just a quick question, and I missed this at the last hearing. Is Tenor Lane a two-way street?
This is going to be a one-way street.
One way, going which?
It's going to go from the east to the west.
Okay, and so Choice Way is also one way?
That is correct.
Okay, and goes the opposite, right?
That actually goes the same way.
The same. Oh, I see.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, thank you very much.
Alison, if I may share points of clarification to the extent it is needed. Jonathan, I'm going to assume that both Tenor Lane and Choice Lane are built so that in the future, if the Boston Transportation Department, who has the responsibility for determining the direction of a street, if that street needs to be a two-way street, does the curb alignment geometry allow the city for that street to function as a two-way street?
We have the ability to do that. We have a 20-foot minimum passage between this raised crosswalk right here.
Yeah, I mean, Ruggles is one way, Whittier is one way, so this is just a natural circulation of how you would come in and go out, so you're not all the way down on Cabot, up on Whittier, out, right? Like you'd just be in a loop, or a big
That's
old
correct.
ferry otherwise. So this is what makes sense based on the one-ways that are already out there.
Alison, adding to what Ms. Cording stated, the point I want to make is the roads are wide enough to support two-way directional traffic or one-way directional traffic as proposed, and the directional traffic is determined by Commissioner Cording and members of the Boston Transportation Department. So that's as much as I would like to share. Okay, any further comments by members of today's audience? Hearing none, let me hear a motion regarding public hearing continued item number 1.
Make a motion to approve a joint petition by Preservation of Affordable Housing LLC and the Boston Housing Authority for the making of specific repairs within Tremont Street, Tenor Lane, Whittier Street, and Ruggles Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Jonathan and your team. Appreciate
Thank you very much.
Appreciate the adjustments you all made in reflection to the comments made at the previous hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the public hearing segment of our agenda, item number 1, on a petition by JAG IG Longwood Property LLC for the making of specific repairs within St. Alphonsus Street, a public way in Roxbury, located on its northwesterly side at address number 75, generally across from Smith Street, consisting of curb, sidewalk, and pedestrian ramp reconstruction, as well as new and relocated storm drain infrastructure, street trees, planters, landscaping, signage, and driveway curb cuts. All of this was introduced under new business on October 21st of this year, as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repair Plan 75 St. Alphonsus Street, Mission Hill 3 sheets dated September 24th of 2021. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, Rick.
Okay. Good morning. Rick Latini, civil engineer with Howard Stein Hudson. I'm joined today with Chris Burchett, who's representing the owner, Jefferson Apartment Group. Jim Haru is also here. He is a landscape architect with Copley Wolf Design Group. I'll give a brief presentation in case members of the public are here that weren't here for new business, but this is an existing 2-acre site in the Mission Hill neighborhood of Boston, near Mission Main Apartments and not too far from 1 Brigham Circle. It has an existing 21-story residential building. The owner's looking to do some exterior renovations and some amenity renovations, which includes improving their drop-off area, which exists today. Today, there's actually some planting, and there's actually a wrought iron fence with brick posts that are currently in the public way. We will be eliminating the fence and post. We're also looking to enhance the planting in the public way, including the introduction of 6 new street trees. The site currently has 3 curb openings. We're going to eliminate the middle one, so people will be able to access the drop-off through the driveway that currently goes to parking that they have in the back of the site. So this is a one-way drop-off going from north to south. We will also be reconstructing a 7-foot wide cement concrete sidewalk, and it will be continuous along the path, meaning there'd be no ramping down at the curb cut locations. We'll also be reconstructing the curb ramp that leads out to Smith Street. And this is a recently constructed ramp that meets Architectural Access Board requirements. So during new business, the 2 items came up, I believe. One was you want us to check with street lighting that they were satisfied with the street lighting levels out here. And then I did confirm that, and I sent an email to Todd Lyman just so you had it for your records. The other one was Commissioner Cording wanted us to check with Boston Transportation Department, who has they have tactical safety improvements proposed for this area, which I can show here. So this is basically some pavement markings with some of those flex posts. Hopefully not part of these specific repairs because we haven't designed it yet, but I did talk to William Moose about potentially making this island here not painted, but making it permanent with curb and a cement concrete median. We haven't priced that or designed that yet, but that is in the work, and hopefully this can be approved while we do that on a separate track. But I'll leave it up to you, and we'll take questions from you and the public at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Latini. Rick, truly appreciate your thoroughness in projects which you represent and your follow-up.
Thank you.
Members of commission, any further questions? Not further. Any questions or comments to the petitioner?
No, I mean, I think that we wanted Rick to do exactly what he did, which was get in contact with William. I do think that we want to track certain aspects of this, right? So that like we don't paint green in front of the driveway that's about to be closed, et cetera, and make sure that all that stuff lines up. I don't think that that should stop or slow this down, but we want to keep with these guys so that we don't put out something and then they come right behind us and have to start eradicating.
Understood on our end.
Oh, good morning, Rick. This is Denise Devlin from Boston Water and Sewer. We just have one additional comment. If you can just put a note to protect the hydrants on the plan, that would be great.
Actually, I forgot. We did add a note to add the don't dump plaques and fix any gutter inlets if they get damaged during construction. So I will add that note too.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rick.
Yep.
Any further comments by fellow commission members? Hearing none, any comments or concerns by PIC staff and or members of today's audience?
No, none.
Todd, do you have a sense of where the license LMI is? I know.
They have been in contact with Chung. I don't believe that it's been finalized yet. But that will need to be finalized before permits are issued.
Yeah, we're working with Johanna Schneider with Hemingway and Barnes, so I know Chung Lu is familiar with their work, so we will get that obviously along with the Mylars.
Thank you, Rick. At this point, I'd like to hear a motion regarding public hearing item number 1.
I make a motion to approve a petition by JGIG Longwood Property LLC for the making of specific repairs in the area of St. Alphonsus Street as further read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed or abstaining? Hearing none, motion passes.
Sir, sorry. Ms. Poltinas, did you have a question about this project before we move on?
I'm sorry to be late with the buttons. Yes, I actually live in Mission Hill. I just wondered if the 6 new trees could be planted not in pits, but in a strip, an entire strip, so that their roots will have more room to spread.
Yeah, this is James Rue from Copley Wolf. The 6 new trees are planted in a contiguous planting bed. They're actually not in pits, but as you can see, it's a contiguous planting bed behind the sidewalk.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Edison, for your engagement as always. I believe, no, I've lost track. Todd, did we get a vote, please?
No, we're all set. We took a vote. I don't think Ms. Poltinas' comments change anything. We can move on.
Thank you. Moving on to public hearing number 2 on a petition by L3149 Newbury Street LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Boston proper, consisting of curb realignment, sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, street lighting infrastructure, traffic signal infrastructure, storm drain infrastructure, street trees, bike racks, and the removal of 2 driveway curb cuts. Newbury Street on its northerly side, address number 149, west of Dartmouth Street. Dartmouth Street on its westerly side, north of Newbury Street. This is all brought under new business on October 21st of this year, as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repair Plan 149 Newbury Street, that way 2 sheets dated November 3rd, 2021. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Whitney.
Hi, my name is Whitney Robinette. I'm with L3 Capital and I represent ownership. I'm going to give a quick overview. I am joined today with Rick Latini from HSH and Carl Freshour from IBI. This is the vacant parking lot at the northwesterly corner of Newbury and Dartmouth Street. We are planning to redevelop the site into a 5-story mixed-use retail and office building totaling about 43,500 square feet. In conjunction with the BPDA, we've been working to identify a permanent location for a blue bike station at this corner. And through that process have determined that a sidewalk extension is necessary along Newberry Street. So we're here today to propose that and provide the details related to that sidewalk extension. I'll turn it over to Rick and he can give the presentation on the technical details.
Thank you, Ms. Robinette. Rick?
Yep. Good morning, Rick Latini, once again, civil engineer from Howard Stein Hudson. And no one told me I left my video off the last time. But anyhow, this is a site just about a block north of the Boston Public Library main branch. It's about 1/3 of an acre, and as Whitney said, it currently has a surface parking lot on it, right, which you can see right here. We are proposing a 5-story building with a mix of residential and commercial uses. As Whitney has mentioned, the main reason we're here is for a curb extension to allow the construction of a blue bike station with 19 docks. You can see here we have a pretty generous front yard of about 20 feet that we're going to provide colored concrete, planting trees, and some seating areas. The other improvements we're here is to close a couple curb openings that access the current surface parking lot we don't need anymore. We're adding 5 bike racks. We're also maintaining existing street trees. There is one tree here we're removing. It was dead, so we determined we didn't need a tree hearing with our Parks Department, and we are replacing with a new street tree here. We're also relocating existing street lights and adding a new one at the corner. And also any work done within the Dartmouth Mall will be replaced with wire cut bricks. When we were here last time, we were going to separate the apex ramp on our corner, but we were looking to maintain the apex ramps for the reciprocal ramps. But we recently spoke with Disabilities Commissioner McCosh, as well as Sarah Leong, who's not here, I guess, today. And given the recent history of the Architectural Access Board reluctance to grant variances, we actually revised the plan since we're here for new business to show perpendicular ramps at all 4 corners of this intersection. So that was the biggest change since new business. I don't think there were any other questions during new business except that PIC staff did send us comments that included we have some handholds for the street lighting, which we are trying to relocate at the edge of the pedestrian path, which I should have mentioned is an 8-foot wide cement concrete path. And they also asked us to add some details to the plans, which we've done. So that's all I had since new business. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Ms. Robinette and Mr. Latini, I'm sure both of you are very familiar with over the years, the multiple events that are there along the Dartmouth Street Mall, whether it's artists, there are a variety of community events, plus the city's Boston Transportation Department, every once in a while, they shut down Newbury Street for more of a pedestrian experience. So you do understand the need for sensible pedestrian access throughout this area, and I am appreciative of the fact that the Access Board, how can I say this, saw the wisdom to maintain not apex ramps, but facilitate a ramp system so that the ramps are in line with the pedestrian path of travel. So that's comment 1. Comment 2, Ms. Robinette, I'm going to assume that your project will be as supportive as all the other owners that populate this area in supportive of the Newbury Street pedestrianization of that corridor. Every once in a while, we shut the street, plus any and all community.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, in this area, because this is a very nodal location, and absolutely excited about you all breathing fresh air, fresh Bible. Okay, so thank you. That being said, any comments by fellow commission members towards this petition?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if the intention here is to split all of the ramps, I know that they're shown on the plan here, but there is a lot on these corners, and there is a lot of signal equipment. There is streetlights with DAS antennas. There are hydrants. There are catch basins. So I think that if the ramps are going to be constructed on all four corners, that needs a lot of understanding, and particularly from a signal situation where those things are going, because I think they all have to move because they're all where these ramps are proposed.
Yeah, we actually submitted traffic signal plans, but we are resubmitting them because we did not have these reciprocal ramps at the time, and we actually have it set up so we're actually avoiding hydrants and catch basins, but there is at least a street light, I think, that we might have to look at. And obviously, I think a couple of the traffic signals aren't going to work out with the new low ramp locations, but we are resubmitting a traffic signal plan, and hopefully we can take care of it through that process.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's like the traffic signal plan is a piece of it. I just think that there's like, once you get into actual ramp design, we have to see what of the infrastructure is in the way or not. Because I see you're kind of missing some stuff on one side, but like how that fits in and works out with the stuff out there, I think we need to see it all on a plan.
Okay, yeah, I was just hoping that could be done outside of this process, because I think it won't change the curb lines, but it'll certainly change what we're showing on the traffic signal plans.
Yeah, I just don't think we can tell what it changes until we see it. Right, like, so like it could stand to change the specific repair just based on what we find when you try to fit ramps in on these corners.
Mrs. Robinette, what is being said here is we are trying to do the sensible thing to facilitate the wonderful improvements we are proposing, so that the improvements and the resulting pedestrian traffic that is going to be generated, that it can be absorbed appropriately within the public space. So what Commissioner Corning is trying to bring to everyone's attention is there may be additional adjustments for city-owned infrastructure, whether it's a traffic signal pole or a street light, that may need to be adjusted. That cost will be will have to be borne by your team. And I think you have good consultants here who will understand what is the sensible way to accommodate the concerns by the Architectural Access Board to provide a setting that is universally accessible. Okay, so Rick, I think you need to do what needs to be done. Adjust the plans at appropriate level. If needed in the future, if these plans have to be amended, Todd, I think that's how it needs to happen, right? We will approve the plans as submitted, but if the plans have to be adjusted to a degree that requires another, I don't know, like what's the proper way to do this rather than doing another hearing, or is one needed?
So it kind of depends. It depends on the commission. If the commission feels that there is going to be a lot of stuff moving out here in order to accommodate these ramps, then we may need to explore that a little bit further before we consider approving contingent on whatever. But if the sense is that there might be one or two things that move, but it's not that big of a deal, and they are all the types of city infrastructure that can move without PIC action anyways, then it may be more reasonable to approve contingent on this project returning to PIC if there are major changes that need to happen. I would leave it to the commission to decide.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big issue here is if this was just signal stuff, right? Like we could probably cleave it off and just do it alone with BTD, but I just worry that it's signals, potentially streetlights. There's a fire alarm box out here. We have hydrants, we have other stuff, right? So like, I just think that if we wait 2 weeks, we can have everything on this one plan and have it move forward. And if there's still even signal conversation about that stuff, it doesn't need to slow this down. I just think that like, we need to know all the things that are moving so we can have them on this plan.
Ms. Robinette, would you have a concern of extending this public hearing for 2 more weeks, which hopefully doesn't delay things, but you may have a clearer understanding as to your exposure and the choice. Hopefully you can read it between the lines.
Yeah, thank you for asking the question and giving me the opportunity to provide my opinion. Obviously, we do agree there's additional details that are necessary. We have been working with the BPDA for 2 years on this process, and this intersection and these modifications are a new issue that arose on the 18th when we got the denial from the Architectural Access Board. So we are at the precipice of getting our building permit, and the BPDA is holding their approval until the PIC approval is completed. So if a contingent plan is not possible, and we would be delayed a couple more weeks, we'll have to take that recommendation. But we are waiting to pull our building permit, and this is the last piece of the puzzle.
I'm sorry, Ms. Robinette. Your punchline is, so today we are November 4th. If we extend it to November 18th, will that make it tremendously awkward for your timeline?
I would have to ask Rick if we have the time and ability to pull all of that information. I know this entire intersection needs to get surveyed and documented, detailed, and I don't know if that's enough time, Rick.
Yeah, it's not, to be honest with you, I think we have the surface information because I put these ramps to avoid the fire alarm box and some other things that Amy had mentioned. What we don't have is enough grading information just for construction documents. I think the layout is okay. And that's why I was hoping maybe we could, I don't know if there's a way to condition this approval. That way, when we can start the project in our corner while we work out the traffic signal stuff. There's some demolition work to do and other stuff, and we didn't want to delay it another month or two by the time we get all the other approvals. And I don't know, ask if there's a way to.
I mean, if it was just the signal stuff, right, like I think that we could probably figure this out. My other concern, right, is that you were denied by the AAB and then you're showing that you're doing ramps, but we don't have how you are making accessible crossings here. Like we have the showing of the locations of them, but not specifically where they're fall and that they can be done in an accessible way, right? So I think that it's more that these plans, because now you're doing all of the accessible crossings, these plans need to reflect those accessible crossings, not placeholders for future ramps. And I just think that when we get into the details of where these ramps land, that it won't just be the traffic signal equipment that's in the way or needs potential modification, or discussions about how these ramps might be a little bit different in order to accommodate things in the wings of them, et cetera. That would just be a follow-on conversation with commissions for persons with disabilities.
Okay, and like I said, I don't want to, I hate to keep making counterpoints, but I'm just thinking like a lot of times, like if we were just doing ramps, it wouldn't have been a PIC issue. So that's why I figured the traffic signal plans are where we would take care of it, because I'm going to get reviewed by you. I'm going to get reviewed by Zach Wasmuth. There's no way that we're not going to have this correct. And what we're not going to do is change the curb lines, because if we have to do that, then we are going to seek a variance, because that's going to be way too much money for us to be able to afford. So it's really just a matter of these things shift a tiny bit one way or the other. I don't think it changes the curb alignment or the bike racks or the other stuff that we're asking for on the specific repair plan. And that's why I'm hoping you could just condition it so we don't the project doesn't get delayed anymore. It got delayed a little bit because of COVID, and then because of a long process with the Back Bay Architectural Commission and Boston Landmarks to get to the point we're at today.
Okay, folks, in the spirit of cooperation and trying to keep projects moving and recognizing this is the Public Improvement Commission, the delays which you articulated cannot influence the decision-making process of this commission. May I suggest the following? Rick, I'm absolutely confident in your capacity and your capabilities to assess the situation over the next 2 weeks to give us additional guidance, okay? And Ms. Robinette, just want to find out, will a 2-week continuance seriously jeopardize your position? Not that, I'm trying to find a balance between trying to do the right thing as dictated by the Architectural Access Board. They are part of this approval process. So, question, by November 18th, if we all can come to a common understanding as to what is at stake, will that jeopardize your timeline?
I would answer that by saying it could jeopardize our timeline. This is the last approval that we're seeking before the BPDA will sign off. We have all of our other approvals from the Back Bay Architectural Commission. We have the GCAD variance. This is the last item. So we were ready to get started. We have our construction loan in place. We have a general contractor engaged, and we're literally waiting to mobilize until the building permit is in place.
Okay, so when I said I don't want people to misunderstand my question as to why you're jeopardizing your project, there are certain projects that come in front of the Public Improvement Commission where the funding source, due to the nature of the funding source, whether it is private, public, or grants, those funding sources disappear. Okay, are you in that side, that type of a situation, rather than the natural process through which projects gets permitted?
I'm sorry, I had a hard time understanding the funding comment.
Do you have any sources of funding? There are sometimes public-private partnerships where there are federal grant funds that disappear, which puts unnecessary pressure on the city's approval process.
No, we're funding this 100% on our own.
That's what I understood. So I'm of the opinion that we can, this is just my thought patterns. We wait for 2 weeks to see the extent of the concerns that are raised by the commission members. Amy, your thoughts on this?
I mean, that works for me. Like, again, like I think that what we can have follow-up conversation about traffic signals if that stuff needs to move. I just think that we need to understand, right, what is moving and who owns it. But yeah, no, that's fine with me.
Para, may I also make comments? Rick and Whitney, thank you. We also need to have an updated site plan if some of the stuff has changed from the last petition you had. You know, some of, you know, like you mentioned, you added some of the handicap ramps, and one of them is like closer to the drain manhole than it was the last time. We just have to have that on file as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so it seems like there seems to be some homework that needs to be done as expeditiously as possible, Mr. Latini, to address the concerns that have been raised to this point in time. So those are my thoughts. Any further comments by fellow commission members? Any comments by PIC staff and all members of today's audience?
The one thing I'll mention is if this is going to be continued 2 weeks, it may behoove the project to use that 2 weeks to finalize and execute and submit the LMI agreement as well, so that there's no delay. There's no delay on that end as well.
Okay, this point, hearing that the consensus is leaning towards the continuance of this public hearing for 2 weeks, subject to the fact that within those 2 weeks, the petitioner and the petitioner's consultants will work towards clarifying the issues that have been brought up at this point. I'd like to hear a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion to continue public hearing item number 2 is read into the record by the chair.
Second.
Continued for 2 weeks for November 18th. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed or abstain? Motion passes. Item number 3, public hearing item number 3 on a petition by Crown Castle Fiber for a grant of location with lead company status and no participants to install new telecommunication conduits with city shadows with the following public ways in Boston proper. Tremont Street, generally at addresses number 148 through 169, between West Street and Avery Street. Avery Street, generally between Tremont Street and Mason Street. This was brought under new business on October 21st of this year, as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan 169 Tremont Street, Boston, 2 sheets dated September 13th of 2021. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. This is Brian Cunningham. I'm with Crown Castle. And with me on the call today is Ashley Perry and Anna Samashka, also from Crown Castle. I'm going to share my screen to show the plan. And if somebody could confirm that that's visible, please.
Yes, Brian.
Thank you, Power. Okay, we're proposing to place micro trench on Avery Street and Tremont Street, starting here at an existing Crown Castle handhole on Avery Street where we have our backbone fiber. We propose to place micro trench up Avery Street, place a handhole on Tremont Street right here, and continue north on Tremont Street. Moving to the next page, it's oriented differently, but we're continuing north on Tremont Street. Place a second handhole right here, where we would make a 90-degree turn to another existing Crown Castle handhole on Tremont Street. The total length of the trench is 815 feet. As I mentioned, it is micro trench with city shadow duct. As you can see right here, this is the edge of an MBTA tunnel that's underneath Tremont Street. We're not digging, we don't propose to dig over the tunnel, but we're near the tunnel and we're working with MBTA currently on a license for this project. It does fall within the Business Improvement District. They do not have any objection to this plan. Are there any comments or questions about the petition?
Thank you, Brad. What is your timeline towards getting the license from the MBTA? Or is there issuance of the license contingent upon you getting the PIC approval?
It's not contingent upon the PIC approval. We're working it separately. We actually don't have a timeline yet. We're in contact with the MBTA and they're trying to determine whether in fact we really do need the license. So we'll be working with them directly on that. And obviously we wouldn't be in any work or permitting until we have that license or that they've determined that it's not necessary.
Absolutely, Brad. As long as you understand that you need to achieve both permits before the city can issue a construction permit.
Yeah, absolutely, understood.
If needed by the MBTA, okay? So thank you, Brian. Any comments by fellow commission members?
Yeah, you're cutting through a bunch of loops on Avery Street, or you're cutting through where we connect all the loops on Avery Street?
Yes, down right in this area.
Yeah.
We will obviously fix those if we damage them.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, a micro trench, you're gonna go right through them, so you gotta fix them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Any further comments by commission members? Hearing none, any comments by PIC staff or members of today's audience?
No, all set.
Thank you. I'd like to hear a motion regarding public hearing number 3.
Make a motion to approve a petition by Crown Castle Fiber for a grant of location in the area of Tremont Street and Avery Street, as further read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? Hearing none, motion passes. Next item on agenda, public hearing number 4, on a petition by Sprint Communications Company LP for a grant of location with lead company status to install new telecommunication conduits with city shadow within Overland Street, a public way, Boston proper, located at the site of 109 Brookline Avenue, generally southeast of David Ortiz Drive. This was brought under new business on October 21st of this year, as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Grant of Location Plan Proposed Lateral Concrete Placement Overland Street at Brookline Avenue, City of Boston, 3 sheets dated April 6, 2021 and revised on June 9, 2021. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Tom Agresta from Sienna Engineering Group. With me, I have Haley Walker and Kristen Hagan, and from Sprint Communications, we have Mike Hannafin and Cody Ford. Can everyone see my screen that I'm sharing?
Yes, Tom.
Okay, perfect. Sprint Communications is petitioning as a lead company with no participants to place new telecommunications conduit from 109 Brookline to a new manhole to be placed on Overland Street, as shown in the drawing. There will be a total of 6 4-inch PVC conduits placed. There'll be 8 placed. 2 will be stubbed outside the manhole for future use, and 6 will be brought into the manhole. The purpose of this project is to provide service to customers in the area. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Question by commission members? Hearing none, questions or comments by PIC staff and all members of today's audience?
Sure. Tom, you mentioned that some of the conduits are going to be stubbed short of the manhole. Are those going to be the private conduits or the city shadow conduits?
Those are going to be private conduits.
Okay. All city shadow conduit should run into all manholes.
Correct.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for confirming that.
Todd, I'm sorry. The manhole is 4 by 4 by 4.
That is correct. Yep. 4 by 4 by 4.
And is it connected to another series of conduits that are running on Overland Street?
Yes, it's going to be intercepting existing Sprint communications conduit that runs down Overland Street.
So you are connecting to your own network, correct?
Correct.
Obviously. Okay. Thank you. At this point, I'd like to hear a motion regarding public hearing number 4.
Make a motion to approve a petition by Sprint Communications Company LP for a grant of location in Overland Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to the new business segment of our agenda. Item number 1, new business item number 1, 174 Ipswich Street, Boston proper, specific repairs on a joint petition by the City of Boston Public Facilities Department and Boston Public Schools. Good morning.
Good morning. Morning. This is Jim McQueen. I'm the Senior Project Manager with the City of Boston Public Facilities. And we're here today to look at the project at 174 Ipswich Street, the work of which is in support of the construction of the new Boston Arts Academy building. Boston Arts Academy is the city's only public high school for the visual and performing arts. They offer access to a college preparatory arts and academic education to a diverse student body of 490 students in grades 9 through 12. Operating with a faculty of 45 and a staff of 19, the BAA offers programs in dance, music, theater, design, and visual communication and fashion technology. It's supported by a strong academic and STEAM programs. The project is currently about 75% complete, with substantial completion scheduled for April of 2022. And in the coming weeks, they will be beginning work on some of the site walls and placing the curbs to form the previously approved sidewalk configurations. The school will be fully opened and occupied for the start of the school year next September. I'm here today with Deb Danik from Niche Associates and Sarah Rodrigo from the Council for Arts and Culture. And we're coming to address some previously approved specific repairs to amend them to reflect changes that have occurred over the last several years. And now I'll let Deb Danik from Niche present the details of that.
Thank
you,
Jim.
Oh, sorry, Para. Thank you, Jim. As Jim mentioned, we received approval for the proposed curb, light, and sidewalk changes back in about 2018 for the work along Ipswich Street and then the reciprocal ramps on the other side of the street. We're here really today to talk about this wonderful sculpture that we're proposing to put in within a newly bumped out area that was approved previously. The other thing Jim mentioned is we're kind of catching up on some of the changes that have happened in the neighborhood and due to other developments that are happening adjacent to the project site. So I wanted to give you a couple of visuals just of the sculpture and kind of where it's located. You can see this is the rounded corner of Ipswich Street. From where we're standing, we would be up in Fenway Park in the stadium looking back towards Boylston Street. This is a bit of a close-up of the sculpture. You can see here it has a raised footing around it.
We already had approved bollards in this location. These bollards are not in conflict with that footing. We've provided a 5-foot clear between any bollard in this raised portion of the footing at the front. And at the back of the sculpture, there's a lot more than a 5-foot clear walk for pedestrians. This is kind of a view from the side. You can see also we previously had approved a flagpole within this location. So you'll notice that it has changed locations on the updated plan. So this is actually the specific repairs plan that we submitted. You can see that sculpture, and this is a bit of, a 180 from what we were looking at. We were standing here in Fenway Park looking at the building, but we oriented this plan so that it was with north up. But you can see this is the location of the sculpture. We have the clear width between the sculpture footing and those bollards, and then more than 5 feet between the sculpture itself and even the property line, but definitely more so between the building. The other thing you'll notice on this plan are just some of those updates that we discussed to kind of reflect what's happening in the neighborhood. Fenway Park is doing some upgrades and some changes, which includes sidewalk modifications east of our project. So we've modified our driveway entrance to match their design. When we originally designed our sidewalk bump out, the bump out was not happening on the other side. So the construction of this is happening pretty soon, and it's being coordinated with the adjacent project. The other thing we did was update this driveway entrance, and let me back up a little bit. Behind the building is actually a private alley. We updated this driveway orientation to match the hotel project, and I think it was called the Fenway Hotel, but the hotel project down south of our project that's been approved through PIC. So this layout matches a previously approved PIC application. And as well as up here, there was a driveway modification that was approved by the PIC after we got our approval, that we've now updated our plan and the construction to reflect. A couple of things I just wanted to show you. This is actually a photo from November 2020, but you can actually see that one driveway application that was approved and already constructed in place. So now that we are putting in our bump out, we're tying into that existing driveway opening, which is a little different than was previously approved in our plan. And then I wanted to include this photo of work that's actually already been done on the site. We don't often get to see our sidewalks from this view, so I thought it was pretty cool. But you can see here, the previously approved sideway bump outs have already been installed. We actually had a last minute conversation about some changes to this ADA ramp at Fenway Park due to their new construction and their needs. And you'll see that location reflected on the updated plan. And that's really all I have to say for the updates. I welcome any questions to what we're proposing.
Thank you, Dave, so much. Questions, comments by fellow commission members?
You're running electricity to the sculpture and the flag. Where's the light?
That is a great question.
The light is actually integral with the flagpole.
And then for the sculpture?
That's within the foundation of the sculpture.
Thank you, Jim. Mm-hmm. Any further comments by commission members? Hearing none. Jim, Dave, I have a couple of questions. Who is going to own this wonderful sculpture?
I can jump in. Hi, everyone. Para, the Arts Commission will own the sculpture.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Okay. So the next question, Deborah, what type of traffic control do we have or propose for the intersection of Venice and Ipswich? Is it free flowing or is it stop control, yield control? What do we have? Basically, what I'm trying to get towards is the type of traffic movements, uncontrolled traffic movements at this location that might run errand and interact with this wonderful sculpture, and to understand whether the bollard system that you have is adequate. So to answer all of that questions, what type of traffic control do you have at this intersection?
There is no traffic control, it's free flowing.
Okay, so in the absence of any traffic control over here, my next question is, when you look at the reconfigured curb lines and the movement of traffic and the car or the truck that doesn't go where it's supposed to go, are you comfortable with the bollard design in front of the sculpture to keep the sculpture protected from a misguided driver?
Yeah, that's a great question. We feel comfortable with this design. The actual layout of Ipswich Street, once this project is done, is going to be modified. Right now, it's very open and very paved. Once the project's complete, there will be bike lanes striped on Ipswich Street, as well as, we do have the bump ins for the parking. Van Ness Street is one way coming towards the curb near the sculpture, so that's why we have the bollards in there as well.
Awesome. Last thought pattern, with the movement of the curb lines and these wonderful bonuses which you are proposing, are the street lighting poles in its proposed or current configuration adequate to meet the needs of the new urban space that is being created with this beautiful piece of public art and all that happens at this entrance to the Fenway Park? Is the street lighting adequate?
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. And I did forget to add, one of the changes we do have is an addition of an additional street lighting pole. We had gotten original approval to have 4 street lights along this portion of Ipswich Street, and we're now up to 5. Or maybe that's total, I'm sorry. But we did include another street light. We've coordinated very closely with the street lighting division on this. One of the changes we also did was to install one of the brighter lights. We changed the actual light fixture to kind of meet their needs.
And the lighting needs at the intersection itself, meaning where the new public art sculpture is going to be, and on the opposite side, the bumped out area, you are of the opinion that there's adequate street lighting, ambient lighting in reflection of the shadows and all of that good stuff to manage the pedestrian circulation at an uncontrolled intersection?
We understand from Boston Street Lighting that this meets their needs.
Wonderful.
We didn't do the actual evaluation.
Oh, okay. Is the street lighting, okay, never mind. This is new business. Deborah, just do I hope you understand the question I'm asking. I know you are asking our streetlight folks to make sure, but hopefully you all also have done an independent evaluation as to whether the lighting needs are adequate to meet the needs of this great urban space that we all are creating.
The project has submitted their coordination, a copy of their coordination with the Streetlight Division. So okay. We've confirmed that they're all set.
Awesome. Thank you, Todd. Any further comments by commission members? I think I asked that question. Any comments by PSC staff and non-members of today's audience?
No, none.
Hearing none. Jim, as always, fantastic project. So nice to see projects of this nature come to fruition within our city. So thank you, Jim, for all the dedicated work which you do, and Deborah, from you for all the supportive work which you do. We will mark this thing up for 2 weeks, which should see us on November 18th. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Second item, Springdale Street, Playstate Road, Denny Street, Dorchester, widening and relocation specific repairs on a set of petitions by City of Boston Parks and Recreation Department. Good morning.
Good morning, Cara. I'm Kathy Baker Eclipse. I'm the project manager for McConnell Park in Dorchester, in the Savin Hill neighborhood of Dorchester. I'm joined by Brandon Kunkel and Elise Bluell from Weston and Sampson. They are the design team, part of the design team that are working on this project. So we're here for the widening and relocation plans and specific repair plans to Springdale Street or Springdale Road, which is, as you can see, shown on the plans. The Springdale Street is a private way adjacent to McConnell Park. McConnell Park is being renovated by the Parks Department through our capital improvement plan. The scope of the work includes new ball fields, passive areas, parking lot, playground, plantings, green infrastructure, drainage, electrical, all the things that go into the park. The existing condition at Springdale is that there is no differentiation between the roadway for the public travel between the public way of Plaisted and the public way of Denny Street, and the parking area for the park. So the proposed plan, which is in the McConnell Park bid documents, is that we will build a dedicated roadway with no parking on it, which includes curbs, streetlights, sidewalks on the south side of the road, and then the associated widening that's needed to accommodate fire truck access and the proposed width of the roadway. So I'm going to turn it over to Elise and Brandon to talk a little bit more in depth about that.
Thank you, Kathy.
Sure, and I'm just going to talk just for a minute. As Kathy mentioned, this is really just the effort to formalize in a safe manner the connection between the two public rights-of-way of Plaisted and Denny Street via this private way that's on Boston Park's property, and formalize the parking lot area. This is all being done in an effort to make a safer and more formalized parking space than what is there currently. And as a result of relocating the private way, we had to also propose the relocation of the utilities within the street or the existing parking lot area in order to keep them within the expanded right-of-way. So with that, I'll hand it over to my colleague Elise, who is really more on the technical side on this. But if there are any other questions at this time, we can answer that.
Thank you.
Right. So as both Kathy and Brandon mentioned, we're proposing to widen the right-of-way on the south side of the new sidewalk, which sits adjacent to this newly established Springdale Street. Prior to this hearing, we've kind of reviewed with the Disability Commission, Boston Water and Sewer, and Boston Street Lighting to get their feedback. And one of the comments from the Disability Commission was to widen the sidewalk to 7 feet and also provide crossings at sidewalk grade. So the road will actually ramp up to the crossing and the crossing will remain flush at the sidewalk locations. Additionally, we did clear the street lighting locations with Boston Street Lighting. There are 2 lights, one on this side of the road and another located here. And additionally, Boston Water and Sewer provided comments. They mentioned that they just want all of their structures to be raised to the new grade and that they should be accessible by maintenance trucks. So those comments have been added to our plans as well. And with that, this is just kind of an overview of the widening and relocation plan, and then we will move on to the specific repairs. As Kathy mentioned, we will be resetting the curb line shown in the blue dashed line and introducing a new sidewalk, the 7 feet wide, again with the sidewalk or the pedestrian crossings and curb ramps as necessary. And we do have 1 tree planting. I think we may try to get in another on the opposite side of the road. And then again, just resetting the curb line at the existing residential driveways. And with that, we'll take any questions.
Thank you, Elise. Thank you, Brandon. Kathy, it is so exciting to see this project come to this point in time. If there's anything which Public Works and or the Transportation Department and or any of our commission members, if whatever the hell we can do to support this project, please do let us know individually, not as the PIC Commission, but
thank you.
Partners. Kathy, thank you so much. I remember, former Commissioner Chris Cook. I think we went for a walk over here, and it's so exciting to see this thing happen. Kathy,
yeah, we're finally at the finish line. Yeah.
Many of us owe you a huge debt of gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, putting all that stuff aside, are there any comments by fellow commission members at this point? Hearing none. Any comments by PIC staff and or members of today's audience?
Nope, Kathy's really been through the ringer on this one. She's put up with a lot from me, so thank you.
Not at all. Not at all.
I think we got to a good spot.
Kathy, again, not trying to overstate something, if there's anything which Public Works and or Transportation and or our fellow commissions members that are in this business, whatever we can do to help you, we are just here. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So much, because this is such an amazing project in the Silent Hill neighborhood. So many people have been anxiously waiting, and you brought it home. This is.
Yeah, it's been I think the biggest is that, just providing some clarity around the parking and the vehicular circulation is such a huge improvement over the existing condition, which is just a free for all and a mess. And on game days, it's not a safe condition. The other piece which we didn't touch on in this plan is that there's a major climate resiliency protection for those neighbors. The existing, there was an existing driveway that was a pathway to inland flooding, which this work, especially in Springdale Street, is enabling us to cut off and keep water out of a lot of these residential properties. So it's a lot of pieces.
So many pieces. That's why I'm elated to see this point in time. Kathy, I just want to make a tiny point. The two homeowners that are immediately abutting this segment of Springdale Street, I'm going to assume that they are absolutely supportive of the placement of the curb line, because my conversations with them over the years, there has been some dynamic nature of it, and I'm going to assume that they have blessed it. Yes.
We have worked very closely with them on the curb alignment and all of the improvements that are along that northern edge, and that's why the pedestrian, at their request, the pedestrian sidewalk is on the south side, and also at their request that there is absolutely no parking on Springdale Street.
Again, for the 10th time, anything which we can do to help you, please let us know, because you championed this project, Kathy, and your whole department. Okay, enough. No further comments. Start bringing home. Okay, so you're fine. PIC Commission members are fine. We will mark this thing up for 2 weeks, which should. We will see you again on November 18th. Okay.
That's good.
Thank you so much, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Third item on today's agenda: 218 through 220 Old Colony Avenue, Gustin Street, South Boston, pedestrian easement specific repairs on a set of petitions by 218 through 220 Old Colony Ave Limited Liability Company. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, and members of staff, I should say. My name is George Moranci. I'm an attorney at law representing the property owner and petitioner. The manager of the LLC is Sengming Chan. Joining me today is Len Buffard of Civil Environmental and Consultants, the project engineers. I believe Len is online. Also, Damian Carthy is here, who is my client's builder. Chairman, Commissioners, the locus is 218-220 Old Colony Avenue in South Boston, at the corner of Gustin Street, which is a dead-end public way. My client has submitted 2 petitions to the commission related to his approved development project at this address for a new 5-story mixed-use building. One, which I am showing on my screen now, hopefully everybody can see, is for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement along the 2 public ways bordering the site, namely Old Colony Avenue and Gustin Street, and one petition for specific repairs also associated with the approved project. The pedestrian easement would allow for a widened public sidewalk on each public side of the street, approximately 5 feet wider along the Old Colony Avenue side, which is a neighborhood main street, and approximately 3 feet wider along Gustin Street, which is a limited neighborhood connector street, and as I mentioned, a dead end. It has a terminus at the back of Boston Housing Authority, West 9th Street elderly apartments. The buildings on the other side of Gustin Street, where I'm tracing my mouse cursor here, are also owned by the Boston Housing Authority. That is the prime reason why this street was simply not abandoned. We had initial conversations about doing that, but the street does in fact serve as the main address for these BHA properties at 8-10 Guston Street. The specific repairs petition would allow for improvements to both public ways, consisting of the closing of an existing curb cut located approximately where I'm tracing my mouse cursor on the Old Colony Avenue side of the site. Also for the removal of rounding stones on Old Colony Avenue and installation of new concrete sidewalks and new granite curbings on both sides of the street. There would be a new curb cut on the Guston Street side to provide access to the new building's garage, and then a new perpendicular accessible pedestrian ramp, as well as 2 new street trees on the Old Colony Avenue side, and 3 new light pole locations on the Guston Street side. With that, I'll pause and take any questions that commissioners may have.
Thank you, George. Just an administrative issue. I hope that at the public hearing, your camera will allow us to see you, because I think you may be having a video challenge and your camera is just allowing us to just hear your voice and not see you. Hopefully that's
fine. Yes, no, I apologize for that. My video was not coming through clearly. I think there's a problem with the camera on my computer, so I actually had that covered. It's about the only thing I can do is either buy a new desktop monitor because the camera is built in, or I guess I could get an accessory camera.
Yes, George, it would be nice for the purpose of a proper record at the public hearing. If you are the only person who is going to testify, if we can see you, okay? Just
understood.
Minor comment. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. At this point, I'd like to ask whether my commission members, fellow commission members, have any questions for you.
I don't have any questions, but I think, and maybe it's more Sarah from the Commissions for Persons with Disability who can get into this, but I just think that we need to make sure all of these raised elements are meeting our standard details for, raised crossings, tabled intersections, and you're showing full ramps here, but obviously that's not the case. So understanding of where the crosswalks and the tactile warning and where things kind of return to flush, I think is going to be a piece of that. I just know that Sarah's not here, but some of the things you're showing aren't quite our standards for raised crossings. So that and the markings should just get the final conformance.
Thank you. Understood, Amy. These, as you, I think, are aware and probably taught a lot of what's happening on this side of Guston Street, including the tabling here, or not a formal tabling, but the street does descend here, rises a bit. This was all done as part of this 232 Old Colony Avenue project some time ago. So this would be our new ADA compliant ramp, and these are all existing conditions here.
Yeah, no, I think it's just about making sure that the markings and all the other stuff that you're putting in are in the right spot. But yeah, I defer to Sarah, who's just not here today.
Understood.
George, who is your consultant, if I may ask? I can't quite see the.
I'm sorry, what are you trying to say? I'm sorry, Chairman.
Sorry, George. What is the name of your consultant who is helping you with these plans?
Oh, it's Civil Environmental Consultants, CEC.
No, it's okay. Hopefully they have access to our engineering specifications, and if you need them, Mr. Liming from the PIC Chief Engineer can assist you on that front. Okay. What else? Any further comments by fellow commission members? Hearing none. Comments by PIC staff and or members of today's audience?
No, none.
Yeah, Todd, if you could just make sure that the consultant has access to all our engineering specifications and or the website.
Certainly.
Thank you so much. That being said, we'll see you in 2 weeks on November 18th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Moving on to the 4th item on today's agenda, 77 Chestnut Street, Boston proper, specific repairs on a petition by 77 Chestnut Realty Trust. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you see my screen here?
Yes, Bob.
Alrighty, well, good morning, everybody. Bob Messenger from Howard Stein Hudson. I'm joined with Mona Bonneau from CR Construction, representing 77 Chestnut Street in Beacon Hill. As the board mentioned, we're petitioning specific repairs for a recharge well in the sidewalk and associated reconstruction of the sidewalk. Just for a brief overview of looking at the map here, we got the site on Chestnut Street. River Street is to the east, River Street to the west, and Lime Street is to the north. The project itself, it's a renovation of an existing 4-story residential building. And I'll move to the repair plan here. The existing building takes up 100% of the site, 1,600 square foot site. So throughout our Boston Water and Sewer permitting, we were required to put infiltration in the sidewalk. We have proposed a single recharge well here in the furnishing zone. This recharge well here will be 10 inches in diameter. It's typical city standard materials, gray cast iron for such a cover. And as you can see, it's about 2 feet off the face of the curb, which will land it in the furnishing zone and away from the main path of travel. And this project has been Boston Water and Sewer approved already. And any associated sidewalk impacts will be reconstructed with city standard wire cut brick. We're in Beacon Hill neighborhood, so this whole stretch is brick sidewalk. There is a couple unique features in the driveway apron. There's some cobbles and associated materials that aren't city standard, but we have coordinated with the local historical commissions, and they recommended that we maintain those in the existing conditions. So we're going to be removing and retaining these cobbles, and we'll make sure to coordinate that as such with the PIC team. And that's pretty much it. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Bob. Assuming that you have gotten all the necessary neighborhood architecture, neighborhood permits, whether it's the Beacon Hill Civic Association and or the historic.
Yes, yeah. So Mona, you could confirm, but I believe we have applied to the historical or the BHAC. We've coordinated with the Landmark Commission as well.
Are you in possession of those approvals, or are they still contingent? Are you still waiting on those? The PIC cannot take action until we get their approvals, unless they are waiting PIC approval. Sometimes it's difficult for me to, on any given day, figure out whether we await them or they await us.
We are in the process of applying with the historic, but speaking with Nick Armada, he did request that what is existing remain. So that is the direction we've been given regarding similar projects. So that's how we'll be proceeding and making sure that the approval is given as such.
Thank you, Ms. Bond. Todd, can you just check this, figure out who is supposed to be on first base on this one, okay? To make sure that PIC doesn't take any action that precludes the rights of the Landmarks Commission and their sister agencies.
Yeah, I have received a copy of the project's correspondence with Joe Cornish of the Landmarks Commission. Additionally, I believe Rob Whitney can weigh in or would like to weigh in. Rob, go ahead if you like. Oh, but you're muted.
Sorry, I didn't know it was public comment time, but I'm happy to. I'm Rob Whitney. I'm the chair of the Beacon Hill Civic Association. As Todd knows, we monitor activity for the PIC within the Beacon Hill Historic District, and we try to offer comments where we can. I have also checked with respect to the Architecture Commission. My understanding is no formal application has been filed with them to date. Nick Armada is a great resource. He gives guidance to applicants. It is not a substitution for filing an application. My understanding is this has not been approved by the Architecture Commission. Not that it wouldn't be, because I think it's appropriate, but it's not been, just so you know. So there is no application currently pending. There's been no approvals at this date. Second issue I had was with respect to the particular size of the cap I understand that it's a 10-inch proposed cap. It said that it's standard. On Beacon Hill, there are very few 10-inch caps that I'm aware of. Most of the groundwater and similar for gas and water are much smaller, 6-inch or so. I've looked at, Bob Messenger was kind enough to send me a copy of the schematic. It appears that the pipe itself that they're proposing is only 6 inches in diameter. I looked at the cap. I don't really see the need for a 10-inch cap, a 6-inch cap of the same material, cast iron, I think would be more appropriate for an historic neighborhood such as ours. I see no real reason for the 10, other than maybe convenience in ordering it. But maybe they can explain more why a 10-inch cap over a 6-inch pipe would be necessary. My final comment would be the replacement of any wire with respect to wire cut bricks. The city requirement, depending on the size, I think you would replace the existing bricks unless it's a larger area, if I recall correctly, and then you use wire cut brick. If you are going to use wire cut brick, which I am in favor of, there are certain different sizes depending on the location in the historic district, the city as of late, and the Water and Sewer Division and Boston Public Works can confirm that. They've been using a modular brick, which is a smaller sized brick than the city uses elsewhere because it matches more closely the historic bricks that are on Beacon Hill. And we've been in favor of those. So I just want to make sure to the extent you replace any bricks, you use the smaller, they're called modular bricks. It's just a tiny bit smaller. And also my one question remains as to the size of the 10-inch cap. Thanks so much.
Rob, continue to appreciate you doing what you do on an ongoing basis, be that safeguard to ensure that all that needs to happen happens. So I'm leaning towards the fact that Todd just checked this, okay, whether the PIC Commission can take action without all these permits being filed, approved. It puts the Commission into a very awkward position. So Rob, you need to make sure that just because we may mark this thing up for 2 weeks, if you don't have the necessary approvals, then we will have to continue. So please alert or not alert, poor choice of words, advise your client or the person who is accommodating expenditures that that level of approvals are needed before you can seek the Commission's approval. Okay, otherwise,
absolutely understood.
Putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah. Also, we're happy to work with Mr. Messenger and others on these design issues, the Civic Association. We've looked at lots of other projects just like this, and we're happy to be helpful if we can.
Thank you, Rob, as always. Now comments by my Commission members. Hearing none. Todd also obviously, as you always do again, make sure that our Disabilities Commission has best of. I know Sarah is not here with us today. Okay, hearing no further comments by Commission members, any comments by PIC staff and or members of today's audience?
No, that's it. All set.
Thank you. So we will mark you up for 2 weeks. Bob, strong possibility that we may have to continue. Okay, because I am highly suspicious that you can file and get approvals within 2 weeks. So please advise your client. And if you are of the opinion that it is going to be continued, you can just present yourself at the public hearing and ask for a continuance. Okay?
Understood.
Thank you so much, Bob. We'll mark you up for 2 weeks. And on November 18th, you will need a continuance and you will hopefully have specifics as to when you would want the Commission to continue. Okay? And we don't decide to wrap projects up before the calendar year is over. So hopefully you can coordinate things with the various sister review agencies to ensure that you have a successful public hearing before the year is out. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. See you in 2 weeks. Last item today's agenda, item number 5, 771 Commonwealth Avenue, University Road, Boston Proper, grant of location on a petition by TC Systems, Inc. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Tom Agresta with Sienna Engineering Group. With me is Haley Walker as well as Kristen Hagan. TC Systems is petitioning as a lead company with no participants to install telecommunications conduit, as well as 2 new 4x4x4 manholes on University Road and Commonwealth Ave. This work is to provide service to customers in the area. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, Tom.
Okay, great. Starting off at University Road, you'll see here where my cursor is, this line represents the limit of the city of Boston and DCR. Although I wanted to show the DCR piece just so you could get an idea of the full scope of the project. We have a light pole with a cell site up here that we're looking to provide service to. So there are 2 4-inch PVC conduits as well as a quad duct, the city shadow. That'll be making its way down University Road into a 4x4x4 handhole. You'll notice that we do have the quad duct breaking into the proposed handhole. From that manhole, it continues on down south on University Road, and then it comes to Commonwealth Ave, turns east, enters into another new 4x4x4 manhole, and then continues further east on Com Ave, where we are going to be breaking into a Verizon manhole, where we will intercept our existing network. So if anyone has any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
Yeah, Tom, can you freeze your screen? Any easy segment of Com Ave, is this Com Ave phase 2A? Is this the part of Commonwealth Avenue which the state just rebuilt for us and we are chopping it before the city?
Yeah. So this is a Com Ave phase. They're running. We have a floating bus stop here. So they're running up in the bike lane behind the floating bus stop.
Tom, are you aware where this roadway, the asphalt is? Oh my God, it's so yes, new looking stuff. It's taken a beating.
So we did see this bus stop. So we planned to through the bike lane, so we don't impede the bus stop as much.
Tom, please ask your contractors to exercise as much care as possible when you are installing this stuff, and you will obviously have to restore any, and I mean any, damages to any of the streets infrastructure, whether it is lane markings, bicycle lanes, all of that. What we do not care to see is your build conditions remain for months and months, and sometimes years and years, hoping someone else will come and fix it or we'll miss it.
Yeah, I think that the area, the bike lane behind the bus stop, the desire would be to just repave the whole thing so that we're not left with one mixed trench in the middle of a bike lane. And then all of the markings need to be restored, right? Like there's a lot of yield lines, bike symbols, green paint, et cetera, that goes on out here that needs to be put back in a manner that looks appropriate. But I would just repave the entirety behind the bus stop so that we don't have a trench through the middle.
Okay, I will definitely stress to the contractors that we need to make sure that this area looks as good, if not better, than what we found it in, and we will do a curb to curb paving behind the floating bus stop.
Thank you, Tom. Is the university knowledgeable about your project? When I say, is you aware of your project? Unless you tell me they are the reason why you are doing it.
No, I don't believe they're aware of this project.
So could you please get hold of their government relations people or their advocacy people and let them know, because you know as well as I do the amount of students that are traversing this area, and any construction or impacts of construction and or impacts to the infrastructure which the city has expended so much efforts. Okay, so please talk to them so that they don't take issue with what the PSC Commission does.
Okay, will do.
Thank you. Further comments by PSC staff? Sorry, PSC Commission members? Hearing none, comments by PSC staff and no members of today's audience?
Two quick things. One, the new manhole on Palm Ave. Let's please make sure that the cover of that manhole is not located in the bus or in the bike lane.
Okay.
And then two, can you add notes to your PIC plans that stipulate the resurfacing of the entire width of the bike lane, and also the pavement and green paint restoration, pavement marking and green paint restoration.
Okay, we will make notes of that restoration.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Todd. We'll mark your control, please, on November 18th.
Thank you very much.
That concludes the matters of today's agenda. I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Please stay safe. Take care.
Thank you.
Record.